A revolution is unfolding before our eyes, yet most people hardly notice it. It is a transformation that could lead us to the introduction of the dreaded mark of the beast, as prophesied in the book of Revelation. What we are witnessing is the rise of the Internet of Things, or IoT. Imagine connected devices that control everything from your home to your health. These devices not only promise convenience, they also collect an immense amount of data about us. And this is just the beginning. Now, think of something even more intriguing, the Internet of Bodies. We are talking about devices that can be implanted, monitoring our health from within. This is not science fiction, it is a reality that is already at our doorstep. With advancements like those from Neuralink, communication between the brain and machines is becoming possible. Have you ever wondered how far this could take us? It is essential that we stay alert, as these innovations, which seem benign, may harbor much darker intentions. What happens when technology begins to control not only our actions but our thoughts? The world is changing rapidly, and we, as Christians, must be vigilant in discerning the signs of the times. The Internet of Things, or IoT, is a concept that is changing how we interact with the world around us. In simple terms, it refers to the connection of devices to the Internet, allowing them to collect and share data. Think about your home. You might have a refrigerator that alerts you when food is running low, a thermostat that automatically adjusts the temperature, and even light bulbs that can be controlled by your smartphone. This connectivity not only makes life more convenient but also allows for better management of resources like energy and water. In the current context, IoT is in full expansion, with increasingly sophisticated devices. For example, wearables like smartwatches monitor physical activity and the user's health, sending real-time information to apps that help maintain health. Another example is connected security cameras, which allow you to monitor your home from anywhere in the world. This interconnection of devices is creating an ecosystem where everything can be optimized, but it also raises questions about data security and privacy. Moreover, IoT is being applied in various sectors, from agriculture, where sensors help monitor soil moisture, to industry, where connected machines enhance production efficiency. Smart cities are also a clear example of IoT application, where traffic lights, public transport, and energy systems communicate to improve citizens' quality of life. However, as this technology advances, it is crucial that users are aware of the risks involved. Connected devices bring to light concerns about the privacy of the data collected. Who has access to this information? How is it stored and protected? These are valid questions in a world where data has become the new currency. Companies that develop these devices have a responsibility to ensure that user data security is a priority, preventing leaks that can have serious consequences. Ultimately, IoT has the potential not only to transform everyday life but also to impact society as a whole. This technological revolution can improve the efficiency of public services, optimize industrial production, and even contribute to environmental preservation. However, it is essential that this evolution occurs responsibly, with careful consideration of ethical and privacy aspects. With advances in technology, the Internet of Things has evolved to include the Internet of Bodies, or IoB. This new frontier involves devices that connect directly to the human body, continuously collecting biometric data and health information. Imagine an implant that monitors your glucose or a device that can predict epileptic seizures before they occur. This interconnection between technology and the human body promises to revolutionize medicine and the way we care for health. The IoB is not just a futuristic concept, there are already innovations in the market that utilize this technology. For example, internet-connected pacemakers can be monitored by doctors in real time, allowing for immediate adjustments and more effective interventions. Additionally, health monitoring devices, such as heart rate sensors, are becoming common, providing users with valuable data that can be shared with healthcare professionals. This opens a new horizon for preventive and personalized medicine. However, the IoB also raises ethical and privacy concerns. If health data is being collected and stored by companies, who controls this information? How can we ensure that sensitive data is not used improperly? Trust becomes a crucial factor in the adoption of this technology, and companies need to establish clear policies on how they handle user data. Transparency is essential for people to feel secure in using these devices. Furthermore, the connection of the human body to the internet could create an unprecedented surveillance scenario. Imagine a world where your health conditions can be monitored in real time by government authorities or companies, raising concerns about individual autonomy. As IoT advances, it is vital for society to discuss and define clear limits on what is acceptable in terms of monitoring and controlling personal data. Lastly, the Internet of Bodies, IoT, opens up a range of possibilities that could transform the way we view health and well-being. However, it is necessary to engage in a deep discussion about the impacts of this technology on privacy and individual freedom. The pursuit of innovations that improve quality of life must be accompanied by an ethical reflection on the paths we are taking. Brain-machine interfaces are at the forefront of technological innovations, promising a revolution in how we communicate and interact with devices. Companies like Neuralink are developing technologies that allow for a direct connection between the human brain and machines, enabling, for example, individuals with motor disabilities to control prosthetics merely by thinking. This technology not only enhances quality of life but also expands the boundaries of what we consider possible. The ability to translate brain signals into commands for devices opens up a plethora of opportunities. Imagine a future where verbal communication is no longer necessary. People could share thoughts and feelings directly, without barriers. This could transform interpersonal relationships, but it also raises questions about privacy and consent. The possibility of reading minds brings up ethical concerns that need to be discussed as this technology advances. Furthermore, brain-machine interfaces have the potential to revolutionize the treatment of neurological diseases. Patients with conditions such as Parkinson's or multiple sclerosis could benefit from therapies that stimulate specific areas of the brain, improving their quality of life. However, access to these technologies may be unequal, creating a new type of social disparity. It is crucial that these innovations are accessible to all, regardless of their economic status. The issue of security is also critical. With the collection of brain data, who ensures that this information will not be misused? Data protection must be a priority, and companies developing these technologies should be transparent about the use and storage of information. Public trust will be essential for the acceptance and success of these innovations. Finally, brain-machine interfaces represent a step toward a future where technology not only complements but integrates with humanity. This symbiosis raises important questions about what it means to be human and how technology can enhance, but also complicate, our lives. Reflection on these aspects will be vital as we continue to explore the possibilities of this new era. The growing capacity to monitor human activities, driven by connected technology, raises serious concerns about surveillance and privacy. Every day, more devices collect data about our routines, preferences, and even our feelings. From security cameras in public spaces to apps that track our movements, the line between convenience and invasion of privacy is becoming increasingly thin. Surveillance, which was once a limited practice, has now become an everyday reality. The concept of Big Brother is present in our lives through technologies that promise security but can, in turn, be used to monitor and control behavior. The large-scale data collection by companies and governments raises questions about who has access to this information and how it is used. The lack of transparency can breed distrust in society. Moreover, the impact of surveillance on individual freedom cannot be ignored. When people know they are being watched, it can influence their behavior, limiting freedom of expression and creativity. Self-censorship can become a consequence of this widespread surveillance, creating an environment where people feel insecure to express themselves freely. Privacy, which is a fundamental right, is at risk in this new technological landscape. The ethical implications of surveillance must also be considered. Technology can be a powerful tool for good, but it can also be used oppressively. It is essential to find a balance between security and privacy, and for legislation to keep pace with technological advancements. The discussion about the limits of surveillance and the protection of personal data is crucial to ensure that technology serves the well-being of society. Finally, as we become more dependent on technology, it is crucial to reflect on what we are willing to give up in the name of convenience. The dialogue about surveillance and privacy should be ongoing, involving not only technology experts but also ordinary citizens, so we can build a future where innovation and privacy protection coexist harmoniously. When discussing the rise of the Antichrist, many people quickly recall the descriptions found in the pages of the Bible. The Antichrist is often portrayed as a charismatic figure, capable of seducing the masses with promises of peace and security. In times of uncertainty, such as the ones we live in, this image takes on even more relevant contours. The connection between this biblical figure and emerging technologies is a topic that arouses curiosity and apprehension. After all, if he comes as a leader promising to solve humanity's problems, are we not, in some way, allowing this figure to approach us through blind acceptance of innovations? Technology could potentially create an environment where the Antichrist could emerge. The ease of communication and the manipulation of information are clear examples of how technology can be used to influence and control the masses. Often, this influence can disguise itself under the appearance of progress and innovation, and this is where one of the greatest dangers lies. The ability to create a digital messiah that offers solutions to complex problems can be seductive enough for people to be swayed, ignoring the warning signs. Furthermore, the search for a strong leader in times of crisis can facilitate the rise of a figure who does not serve the best interests of humanity. The promises of security and stability can be irresistible, leading people to overlook the true intentions that may lie behind a charismatic character. Thus, the Bible warns of the need for discernment, something that can be even more challenging in a world saturated with information and distractions. The relationship between the Antichrist and emerging technologies can also be seen in how the manipulation of truth becomes increasingly easy. Fake news and misinformation are tools that can be used to shape public perception, creating fertile ground for a deceptive leader to find support. In this context, the figure of the Antichrist can be fueled not only by personal characteristics but also by a technological system that fosters distrust and division. Finally, the rise of the Antichrist is not only a matter of religious belief, it is also a theme that leads us to reflect on the ethics of the technologies we use. Are we ready to deal with the consequences of what these innovations may bring? The intersection of faith, technology, and the figure of the Antichrist challenges us to seek a deeper and more conscious understanding of the future we are building. We live in an era where the quest for security has become a priority for many people. After a series of global events, such as pandemics and economic crises, the feeling of vulnerability is palpable. This search for protection can, however, lead to an acceptance of technologies that promise security in exchange for a certain degree of personal control. The paradox is that in seeking security, we often end up relinquishing our individual freedom. Disillusionment with security can be seen in various spheres of everyday life. For example, the implementation of surveillance cameras in public and private spaces is justified by the need to monitor suspicious activities. However, this constant surveillance can create an environment of distrust, where people feel observed, leading to self-censorship. The line between security and control becomes increasingly thin, and what initially appears to be a protective measure may result in an oppressive state of surveillance. Technology companies, in turn, also profit from this need for security. By offering products and services that promise to protect our data and privacy, we often overlook the clauses we accept when using these technologies. The disillusionment comes when we realize that in seeking protection, we give away valuable information that can be used against us. It's a vicious cycle that generates growing concern about who really has control over our lives. Moreover, the acceptance of invasive technologies in the name of security can lead to a normalization of practices that, under other circumstances, would be deemed unacceptable. The use of biometric data for identification, for example, is often presented as a solution to enhance security. However, this practice raises questions about privacy and consent, as many users are not fully aware of the implications of sharing such information. Ultimately, the disillusionment with security and control leads us to a critical reflection on our role as citizens in an increasingly digital world. Are we willing to sacrifice our freedom in the name of security? Or do we need to double our efforts to find a balance that allows us to live safely without sacrificing the fundamental rights that define us as individuals? When we talk about technological Trojan horses, the first image that comes to mind is the famous story of the Trojan War. In the narrative, an apparently harmless gift turns into an instrument of destruction. In the world of technology, this metaphor becomes even more pertinent, especially when we consider innovations that promise to make our lives easier but may have hidden consequences. Often, these innovations are met with enthusiasm without us realizing the risks that may be underlying. A clear example of this phenomenon can be found in smartphone apps that promise to increase productivity or improve health. While they may offer tangible benefits, these apps often collect personal data that, if not managed properly, can be used for manipulation or even malicious purposes. What starts as a useful tool can quickly turn into an instrument of control, leading to concerns about privacy and security. Additionally, social media is another fertile ground for the discussion of Trojan horses. The promise of connection and social interaction is irresistible, but at the same time, these platforms often exploit user data in ways that can be harmful. The algorithm that drives the news feed, for instance, can create information bubbles that isolate users in their own worldviews, limiting the capacity for dialogue and mutual understanding. The very idea of artificial intelligence can be seen as a form of Trojan horse. While many view it as a tool to solve complex problems, there is an inherent risk in allowing machines to make decisions that affect our lives. Automation can lead to efficiency but can also result in dehumanization and job loss, creating a dependence on technologies that are not always understood by those who use them. Ultimately, the concept of technological Trojan horses reminds us of the importance of a critical approach to innovations. When we accept new devices and applications into our lives, it is essential to question not only the immediate benefits but also the long-term consequences. What appears to be a solution to a problem may, in fact, be an entry point for even greater challenges in the future. The speed at which technology advances is a phenomenon that is both impressive and frightening. In just a few years, innovations that once seemed like science fiction have become part of our everyday lives. Smartphones, artificial intelligence, and automation are transforming the way we live, work, and relate to one another. This technological acceleration has profound implications that deserve to be discussed and reflected upon. One of the most striking aspects of this rapid pace is accelerated obsolescence. Equipment that was once considered cutting-edge quickly becomes outdated, forcing consumers to adapt to new realities. This generates a constant cycle of consumption, where the quest for updates and innovations can lead to significant resource waste and an environmental impact that cannot be ignored. Moreover, the speed of technological change also affects society in ways that are not always positive. The pressure to stay up to date can result in stress and anxiety, particularly among those who feel they cannot keep pace with innovations. In a world that values speed and efficiency, reflection and contemplation may be seen as luxuries we cannot afford. Rapid changes also have the potential to create a digital divide between different social groups. While some have access to new technologies and can benefit from them, others may be left behind, perpetuating existing inequalities. Digital inclusion becomes a crucial issue as technology advances, and the lack of access to these innovations can limit job opportunities and personal growth. Finally, this technological acceleration presents us with an ethical dilemma: how far should we go in our pursuit of innovation? The pressure to develop new technologies can lead to hasty decisions that do not consider the long-term consequences. Therefore, it is essential for society to find a balance between the drive for innovation and the responsibility to ensure that these changes are beneficial for all. In today's world, the perception that we are living in times of intense transformation is almost palpable. Many people look at global events and wonder if they might, in fact, be premonitory signs of what the scriptures call the last days. Armed conflicts, natural disasters, and humanitarian crises seem to be intensifying, and the connection to biblical prophecies cannot be ignored. According to sacred texts, these events can be seen as precursors to significant changes in the world, leading to a deep reflection on the future. Moreover, the frequency and severity of natural disasters have left many alarmed. Storms, wildfires, and earthquakes have become increasingly common, and it is not uncommon to hear people relating these events to specific prophecies. What once seemed like mere coincidence is now interpreted by many as a manifestation of divine warnings. The idea that nature is reacting to human actions, or even to the moral decline of society, fuels this narrative. Geopolitical conflicts have also played a significant role in this analysis. With instability in various regions of the world, the feeling that something greater is at stake intensifies. The fear of wars and the rise of religious and political extremism are seen as indications that we are approaching a critical moment. The interconnection between these events and biblical prophecies brings to light the idea that perhaps all of this is interconnected in a way that we cannot fully comprehend. Finally, the search for answers leads many to a deeper reflection on spirituality. The interpretation of these signs is not limited to a superficial analysis, it involves a dive into existential questions and the search for a greater purpose. Many turn to prayer and meditation as ways to prepare for what is to come, believing that spiritual strength can serve as a foundation in times of uncertainty. The figure of Israel has always been at the center of discussions about the last days. The Jewish state, with its tumultuous history and controversial role in the international arena, is often mentioned in apocalyptic prophecies. The relationship between Israel and the nations around it is complex and fraught with tension, and many believe that these conflicts are a crucial part of the unfolding of the end times. For biblical scholars, the continuous presence of Israel as a people and a nation is a confirmation of divine promises. The tensions between Israel and Palestine, for example, are often seen as a reflection of the prophecies that speak about the struggle for control of the Promised Land. The division among these groups has sparked heated debates and, for many, is a sign that the prophesied events are approaching. As the situation worsens, expectations surrounding what this may mean are increasing, leading many to wonder if we are truly on the brink of drastic changes. Additionally, Israel's role in international relations cannot be underestimated. The alliances and conflicts involving the country have implications that extend beyond its borders. Powerful nations often position themselves in ways that can be interpreted as part of a grand divine plan. The changes in diplomatic relations and the new coalitions formed around Israel are closely monitored, as many believe they may be signs of what is to come. On the other hand, the growing polarization surrounding the issue of Israel also raises questions about the morality and ethics of the actions of different countries. Many are asking if the struggle for peace in the region has any chance in such a tumultuous scenario. The voices calling for justice are often heard amidst the clamor for security, contributing to an atmosphere of uncertainty and anxiety. For believers, this is not just a political issue but a deeply spiritual matter rooted in God's promises. With so many challenges ahead, the idea of spiritual preparation becomes increasingly relevant. For many, strengthening faith is a way to protect oneself against the storms of life, both physical and spiritual. This preparation is not limited to acts of devotion but involves an active commitment to live according to the principles believed to be divine. In times of uncertainty, this preparation becomes a beacon, guiding individuals through often dark paths. The concept of being prepared also encompasses the idea of practical action. Many feel that it is not enough to just pray, action is necessary. This can mean engaging in communities, helping those in need, or getting involved in causes that promote peace and justice. This practical action is seen as a way to manifest faith in a world that often seems chaotic and disordered. The belief that every act of kindness can have a significant impact is a powerful motivator for those who wish to be ready for the challenges that lie ahead. Education also plays a fundamental role in this preparation. Many seek to better understand the scriptures and the teachings of their religious traditions. Studying prophecies and teachings about the last days can provide a perspective that helps deal with the uncertainties of the present. Knowledge is viewed as armor, a way to be prepared to face the trials and tribulations that life may bring. Finally, building a strong and supportive community is essential. Many people realize that by joining others who share similar beliefs, they can find strength and comfort. The bonds formed in times of adversity can be an invaluable support, as well as a way to strengthen each other in faith and purpose. This support network is seen as a reflection of what many believe to be the true essence of spirituality: unity in difficult times. The moment is challenging, and spiritual and practical preparation is considered an essential tool for facing what lies ahead. In a world filled with uncertainties, hope and faith continue to be the pillars that sustain many lives, guiding them through storms and helping them find meaning amid chaos. And so, as we observe this silent revolution unfolding before our eyes, it is essential that we remain alert. Technology, which promises to make our lives easier, can be a double-edged sword. Have you ever stopped to think about how these innovations might affect your freedom? What would you do if, to buy or sell, you needed a device that monitors your thoughts and actions? This may seem distant, but the history of humanity teaches us that what is unthinkable today may be our reality tomorrow. As we approach 2025, it is vital to cultivate a critical spirit and discernment. How can we ensure that we are not deceived by seductive promises of convenience and security? Let's ask ourselves, are we ready to face the challenges ahead? And more importantly, are we firm in our faith, prepared to share the love of Christ in a transforming world? Let us remember that even in times of uncertainty, we have the assurance that God is in control. Therefore, let us remain vigilant and united, always seeking the truth and the light we find in the Scriptures. The future may be unknown, but our hope is anchored in Christ. And so, may the words of Jesus resonate in our hearts: "Take heart, I have overcome the world."